Good afternoon, everybody. It's Willazilla, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're having an update and a discussion on the tropics that are heating up once again. And Paulette and Renee have formed in the Atlantic, and a new couple areas of tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa, and possibly a tropical depression or tropical storm hitting the U.S. coast. With our next name form is going to be Sally, Teddy, Vicky, Wilfred, and then we will be heading into the Greek alphabet. Before I do get started with the video, I would ask that you do subscribe. If you do enjoy the weather content that I do provide, make sure to turn on those notification bell icons to never miss one of my videos, and make sure to hit that like button. Let's see if we can get this video up to 5 likes. So first, we're going to start off with a little bit of satellite imagery from ZoomEarth.com. You can see here is 94L. Currently on its way towards the Carolina coast. It does have a 30% chance of forming in the next 2 days. I'll show you guys a little bit closer image of satellite imagery. You can see it doesn't look very well formed or organized, unlike our two tropical storms down here. We'll start off with Paulette. Very strong areas of convection really starting to form right along in the center of this storm, and then up to the a little bit to the west of the Cape Verde Islands. We do have Tropical Storm Renee starting to form. So we'll definitely have to be keeping our eyes on this. I'll show you guys that here in a little bit. So here is the NHC's areas of disturbances. You can see we have Paulette and Renee down here, and then we have a area of disturbance possibly that could be hitting the Carolina coastline. And here's the 5-day forecast. You can see it has a 40 to 60% chance of forming in the next 5 days. And then we have a new area of tropical wave disturbances here coming off the coast of Africa. So we'll definitely have to be keeping our eyes on that, as we are expecting a lot more waves coming off the coast of Africa here in the next 6 to 10 days. We'll definitely have to be keeping our eyes and seeing what could form and what could possibly form. And I'll show you guys a little bit of forecast models about that here later in the video, so make sure to stick around for that. So let's talk about Invest 94L. You can see not very well organized. Here is where the storm actually is. It's somewhere in here. Low level is somewhere in there. My guess is the area of low pressure is somewhere in here somewhere, or maybe to the north. It's still not very well organized. Here on the one view, you can see that convection that we just saw really starting to fire off right here. So we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that to see if that convection does rather intensify. And then here is the model guidance. As you can see, most of the models are very, very consistent with it hitting the South Carolina, North Carolina coastline. Others have it kind of turning off to the left just a tad and kind of falling apart. And then here on the model intensity guidance, most of the models do have it becoming a tropical storm. Others have it kind of remaining down a tropical depression. As I showed you guys earlier, it's not very well formed, so anything could happen here. So we'll have to be keeping our eyes on Invest 94 and when it could possibly be named. So next, let's head over to Tropical Storm Paulette out in the mid-Atlantic. This storm is expected to kind of be a fish storm, as we call it, where it's not going to be hitting much of any land. Now, we don't know the track out past Sunday. So at its current course, you know, it could be hitting the Bermuda area. So if you are on the Bermuda Islands, you need to be taking this seriously. Maybe start your preparations here around starting Thursday. We just don't know how far the track is going to go, just because we just don't have that info yet. We'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that. No tropical storm warning or watches already have been issued at this current time. Here you can see the satellite imagery of the convection. You can see right here a very broad or very deep area of convection, and my guess the low-level center is somewhere in here. Somewhere we just can't, I don't know, I can't find it yet, but another area of convection kind of starting to fire up here and towards the southeast of the storm. So maybe that could be some banding features kind of starting to come on. We'll have to be keeping our eyes on this. And then here on the water, you can see a very noticeable area of convection really starting to form. And then you can see down here towards the southeast, that convection I just showed you guys is starting to fire off. Now here is the tropical storm guidance. You can see most of the models are very, very consistent with it going on a northwestern path. A couple models have it hitting a very right-hand turn, heading towards the north. I don't think that's going to happen. I'll show you guys my forecast here in a little bit, and I'll show you guys and explain why. Now here is another track guidance with millibars. You can see its lowest point here is going to be in 240 hours with pressure down to 989 millibars. This model has it going kind of at a zigzag right along here. We'll have to see what kind of happens there. It's just, and you can't really trust anything out that's over 192 hours out. That's just very, it's a long time away. Something could very easily happen to the storm before then. So we'll have to be keeping our eyes on this very closely. Now here is the model intensity guidance. Now here's where something can get interesting. The COTI model has it being a Category 2 hurricane. Most of them also being a very, very strong tropical storm, borderline Category 1 hurricane. Now, anything could happen here. There could be shear, the storm could rapidly intensify, which it has been over the past 24 hours. So this model, the AVNI, has it rapidly falling apart here in the next 24 hours, have it falling down all the way to a tropical depression. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to show you guys my forecast here in a minute, and here's the tropical storm wind probabilities. See, this was a tropical storm. We knew this was going to become one. The wave, when this came off, was very, very pronounced, so we knew something was going to come from this. Now, the current stats for Tropical Storm Paulette, its current pressure is at 995 millibars. Max is saying, remember, these winds need to be withheld for at least 1 minute, and these winds have been withheld for about 65 mile-per-hour winds, or 55 knots. Current location on the latitude-longitude scale is 18.4 north, 43.3 west, and its current movement is moving at 5 knots, or 6 miles per hour. So very, very slow moving storm, which is not a good sign, as these Atlantic waters have been very, very warm, or above average, over the past week or two, or this whole season, actually. Now here's my forecast. I do have it being a very strong tropical storm. I just don't think there's going to be enough for this storm to rapidly intensify into a hurricane, but at its highest peak, I have it being a 68 mile per hour tropical storm with pressure down to 993 millibars, which I think is very realistic and what could very well happen with this storm. And now we're going to move our way over into Tropical Storm Rene. So, Rene has just been passing over the Cape Verde Islands off the coast of Africa. So their key messages from 2 p.m. is Rene is expected to produce tropical storm conditions across portions of the western Cabo Verde Island for a few more hours. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for those islands. Rene will continue to bring locally heavy rainfall to portions of the western Cabo Verde Islands today. So that did say there is tropical storm warnings out for this storm. And you can see right here, here's a storm kind of right now, but there is the warnings down towards the eastern part of this picture. And then it does have this storm becoming a hurricane some point by early Wednesday or Thursday morning. So again, this is going to be another fish storm, as we like to call it. It will kind of turn right here, and then here on the satellite imagery, you can see there's not much convection going on here. A little bit of convection up towards the north, a little bit towards the southwestern part of this. So, if this storm is going to become a hurricane here in the next 2 days, this storm needs to get its act together, and I think it will. It's just coming off the islands, and there's nothing much going to be stopping this storm from intensifying. So, I think this storm could very well easily rapidly intensify. And then here on the water paper, you can see lots of convection really kind of starting to fire off here in the middle, and then towards the western part, you can see Paulette right here. It's kind of outer bands or outer banks of that storm. Here's a little close-up of the wind field, and you can see where the tropical storm warnings are. Here is the current wind field that this storm is experiencing. So not a very big wind field, but here from the National Hurricane Center is their tropical storm warnings. Now let's talk about some model guidances. As the NHC did show, this storm will turn right, but what's new with these two storms? There's not going to be much activity with these storms about it hitting land. So we're just going to have to kind of see what happens. I think it's still a little far out to determine. Could this kind of head back towards Europe, or could it head back towards the northern tip of Africa as a tropical depression or an area of low pressure? Now here's another guidance. You can see with pressure again. Its lowest point is going to be at 995 millibars with around in about 168 hours. Again, that's still really far out. You can see another area of zigzag right here. So I just don't. That's just too far out to be determining anything at this current time. But I think we can all come together and say that this storm will be turning right, becoming another fish storm. Now here is the intensifier guidance. Now you can see most of these models have it intensifying, which is expected to happen. Now how intense will it get? we don't know. A lot of these have it becoming a very strong tropical storm, possibly a very low-end Category 1 hurricane. The COTI has it reaching Category 2 status in about 120 hours. So I think I'll show you guys my forecast here in a little bit. Now, the current status of Tropical Storm Rene, current pressure is at 1,001 millibars, max sustained winds at 35 knots or at 40 miles per hour. Current location 16.6 north, 27.2 west. Its current movement is at 14 knots or at 16 miles per hour, which is ideal conditions for movement with tropical storms for these storms to intensify. You want to be sitting around the 15 to 16 mile per hour range when your storms are trying to intensify. Now, here is my forecast. I have it reaching a Category 1 hurricane in 36 hours. I have it rapidly intensifying. Now, it's just going to be a matter of how far right will this storm turn. Now, it could very easily have a sharp right turn, or it could kind of be a more gradual turn like I have it being. Now, this storm only goes out 2 days, so I have it being at its max peak of pressure in 48 hours of 980, 985 millibars with winds very low key end of a Category 1 hurricane with 75 to 77 mile per hour winds. Now, here's the part where we need to be keeping our eyes on. Here is a forecast model from Tropical Tidbits of what could be possibly coming off the coast of Africa. So you can see here we do have some waves trying to form right in this general area, and then we do have a storm kind of firing off in the Caribbean, possibly. You can see, watch right in here. You'll see it kind of form right here. That's what we're looking at right there. That could become that could be our next tropical storm or possibly our next hurricane. We just don't know yet until that storm forms. So you can see lots of activity coming off the coast of Africa, which is going to be concerning to see if any storms do decide to kind of fire up. I've been keeping an eye on this. My good friend David Schlotthauer. If you guys aren't subscribed to him, make sure to go subscribe to him. He's a great weather content creator. He's a good friend of mine. I know he's been keeping an eye to keep me updated on these models. But you can see nothing forming in the Gulf. We have not had a storm form in the Gulf of Mexico yet this year. All of these storms have come off the coast of Africa. So that could, something could be coming off the coast of Africa here in the next possibly couple weeks. You can see we do have some storms or big waves coming off the coast of Africa, kind of turning right into this general area once again. So we'll have to be keeping our eyes on this general area. Here is the sea surface temperature. You can see very warm waters here, which is nothing new with the season. These waters have been above average for the entire season. So we're looking at 25 degrees Celsius with these two surface temperatures. Now here's kind of closer view. Here in the Gulf, very warm waters once again in the upper 80s. Out in the Atlantic Ocean, around 84 to 85 mile per hour winds. Not mile per hour, degrees. So these are very warm waters. Once again, with this NVEST, you're looking at 84 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit with these. So the very kind of warmer waters for these storms to kind of intensify on. Now here is how deep the water goes in the ocean. Heat content, you can see whites and red. This goes about 125 meters deep. So very, very, very warm waters. So we have to be keeping our eyes on that as well. Now here is the wind shear and the Gulf. So not a lot of shear currently right now. Not a lot of shear over San Juan. A little bit out here, which could cause these storms to kind of fall apart. And then here on the more advanced map, remember green is favorable conditions, yellow is neutral, and red is unfavorable. You can see there's a lot of shear up towards the north, and that's what's going to cause these storms to very quickly fall apart. So there's very strong shear up to 70s, 60s, and upper 50s in the northern Atlantic. Now here's the Saharan dust layer. You can see the Saharan has pretty much fallen apart as it was from last week. So here, Tropical Storm Paulette right here, and Tropical Storm Rene right there, and then you have NVEST 94L around here. So there's a lot of Saharan dust in this general area, which could cause these storms to fall apart. The Saharan dust, was very, very active last week. So to kind of see this to where it's at right now, it's, falling apart, but it's kind of holding its grip, which I think is going to cause these storms to fall apart. That's going to do it for the video, guys. Hopefully you all did enjoy. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.